Okay, got an interesting job, this one. This is actually at a client site that I did some work for a little while ago. And part of my initial visit to places, I do have an initial just check round just to make sure that what they want to do is possible and it's safe and everything else. So there were some outside lights to do, an outside socket and some other bits and pieces. So not a amazingly complicated job really. The weather didn't help, so it did take a while to do. And there were some issues outside. The armoured cable that had been laid by the landscapers was the wrong type, so I had to relay it. So there were some complications. But anyway, the major complication is, I'll show you in a second, which prompted me to actually do some more thorough checks on the property. But you'll see in a second what the big problem was. And I have, I bet that's round the way. Yeah, I thought it would be. That is the 8-bit. Did not plug in. There we go. It's the ICR Code Breakers book, okay, which I had to use to explain to the customer that what they had was a potentially dangerous consumer board. This has been put in as part. You can probably see behind me. There's a bar. It's in the bar area of the house, and it had been put in, and it's not been put in correctly. Be interesting to see what other people's comments are and see if you'd have made the same observation as me, or whether there's any observations that I've missed. Please put them in the comments down below. But I am a qualified electrical inspector with NAPIT and my insurance company, and I've got the appropriate C&G qualification, which I cannot remember the number of, so I will put it up here. So I do know what I'm doing. I'm not just, the electrician who thinks he does. I do know, and I do EICRs on a regular basis. Anyway, so let me show you the board, the initial observation, and then we'll run from there. What I will say is that I could have issued a dangerous condition report on this board. I didn't, because it is out of reach. You'd actually have to climb a ladder to get to it in order to electrocute yourself. That's why I've not issued a dangerous condition report. What I will do is I will say what the C code numbers would be if it was within reach. So let's have a look at the board and let's go through what I found. That's the NAPIT Code Breakers book right way around. Right, so let's go up the ladder. So as you can see, it's near the ceiling. Initially, it's a metal board, no problem with that. It's been recessed into the plasterwork, which is a bit of a pain. Anyway, so I'm going to open up the cover. The power is still on, and you'll see why I'm opening it at this end in a second. I'm just getting into focus. Get into focus. There you go. Right. There we are. So, straight away, next to the main switch, a blank is missing. There is access to live parts straight away in that board. That would be an immediate C1. So, yeah, the main switch is there. If you could look at the labels, that was the next indication. I was thinking there's going to be issues when I open this up, because none of the labels underneath line up. In fact, it actually says there should be 2 RCDs. And if you look, there aren't. There's one. In fact, any eagle-eyed of you by now would have noticed, hang on, there's 2 main switches. And yes, you are absolutely correct, there are 2 main switches. One on the right and one in the middle. Next observation is, you'll probably notice, this is a Niglon board. And it is a Niglon board. There we go. That middle one is from an Eaton board. There's not even the right switch for this board. Move along. There's a Europa MCB, not a Niglon MCB. So this was already telling me that before I even opened up this cover, I'm thinking, oh dear, what have we got here? Now, I can't actually remember what the code breakers say about mixing manufacturers, but I do believe it is against the regulations, and it probably invalidates the warranty on the board as well. But when I open it up, you will see that there is quite a big problem with having that main switch in the middle. Yeah. There should be, in that position, an RCD. There's an RCD at the end, which you can see it's a 63 amp RCD, in fact. But there's no RCD elsewhere on the board. And I have got the duplicate board, because I wanted to find out exactly how this is supposed to be wired inside. So I will show you how this board is supposed to look in a second. So let's show you the board, the duplicate board of this, how it's supposed to look, and then we'll get the power off and then we'll have a look inside. Okay, so here is the duplicate board. As you can see, first of all, the main switch is on the right. No, it's not, it's on the left. Yeah, but we won't worry about that. Two metal blanks. This board is designed for having a couple of MCBs that shouldn't be on an RCD. Good example of that, house alarm. One RCD there, an RCD there, and 5 MCBs on either side. That's how that board is supposed to look. That's how that board is supposed to look. So what I'm going to do is, now these are 80 amp RCDs as well. I'm considering putting them both in, because then it will match up with an 80 and an 80 rather than a 63 and an 80. But I'm going to put this RCD, I'm going to put in the board and take that middle main switch out, which isn't supposed to be there, and then switch out one of the M6s here, probably for that Europa one that isn't supposed to be there. So we'll do that. I need to have a look, see how it's all wired in there, because you'll notice it isn't wired as well the way it ought to be. But anyway, we'll have a look in, because as you can see, the main switch is supposed to be on the left on these boards. Yeah, there it is. But it's on the right. Anyway, so we'll have a look inside. I'll get the power off and we'll see what goes on inside the board. Oh, I forgot to mention, when I was doing my initial checks, I did do an RCD test, and half the board works with that RCD, the single RCD that's there. The other half of the board doesn't. So that RCD is only covering half the board. It's not covering the whole board, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm converting it back to what it's supposed to be, which is a dual RCD board. Now, you'll note I have no idea why a second main switch was put in there. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not even sure. I've tried to look in the code breakers to see if there's actually a regulation that says you shouldn't do that. Again, if anyone knows if there is a regulation that covers that, stick it in the comments. I'd definitely like to hear what people think of this, while you watch this video. And if you see anything that I might have missed, please feel free, stick it in the comments, and I will get back to you. Anyway, so we're going to get the power off now, and we are... Oh, sorry, the RCD test did pass on the half of the board that's there, obviously. But on the other half, not on the dicky bird. So anyway, we'll get the power off and we'll get this board off the wall. Luckily, this house doesn't actually have a house alarm, so I've got that not to worry about, and it's unoccupied at the moment because it's all at work. So I'm quite happy to turn it off. I've got to be, obviously, when I turn the power off for a while, we've got fridge freezers, we've got things to worry about, but I'm hoping that this will be a reasonably quick job. No, I bet you it won't be, but anyway. Another very quick thing, which I'd like to, if people can put in the comments as well. I'm not fiddling with all the circuits, or at least I don't feel I'm fiddling with all the circuits. What I'm doing is I'm taking out that main switch and replacing it with an RCD which should be there, which will reactivate the RCDs on the other half of the board. So I don't think I need to test every single circuit on this system. I don't feel I need to. I will need to test the lighting circuit that the B6 MCB is on. Yes, that's a fair point. And I will recheck the external socket circuit I did, which is off this bar circuit here, off this ring final, fuse down and then out to an exterior socket. So I will retest that circuit. But other than that, I don't feel I'm not fiddling with any other wiring in there. I'm not disconnecting any other MCBs or anything like this. So I don't think I need to completely recheck this board. If anyone thinks I should, stick it in the comments. But I've checked everywhere that I can think of, and per regulations, I'm not tinkering with all the circuits. I will have to check both RCDs on both sides, obviously, and that'll have to go down on the paperwork. But I will only recheck the circuits that I have done, which is the garage, the bar and the lights, which I'm doing here. They're the 3 circuits I've actually worked on in this property. So I will redo those tests, and I will do the paperwork for those tests once this is done. Right, okay, so here we are with the cover off. I have done my safe isolation procedure. I can't really show that when I'm holding the phone, which is a bit of a shame, but that's all done, both top and bottom. It's isolated outside as well, so there's absolutely no power going to this board whatsoever. I've even tested the middle main switch, just don't want any surprises. Anyway, so you can see the incomers coming into this main switch here, and we've got those coming out the bottom. I'll show you the other board in a second, about how it's all, I don't know, anyway. Right, observations in here, taped up with masking tape, cable there, that's not great. The bus bars aren't fitting properly because that main switch is not supposed to be there. If you can notice, let's do that neutral and line up in the wrong ones, probably because, yeah, well, anyway. We're okay up this end, that's fine, that's in the neutral, that's fine. Anyway, so yeah, it's all a bit of a tangled mess. You can see that there are supposed to be 2 neutral bars there, 1 for each, and the earth bar here. So yeah, so that neutral there, if you follow that cable down, goes into that RCD, that neutral there goes into this main switch, which is why this half of the board has no RCD protection whatsoever, because all these neutrals, where they've gone from those cables, go into there, and then all the neutrals for the other RCD go over there. Yes, so we need to get that main switch out and replace it with the RCD. I need to make sure that everything is going as it's supposed to. So let's go and have a look at the board to see how it's supposed to look. So this is the board how it's supposed to look. Now you can see straight away down here that there's a double one here, double for the neutral, and a single line coming out, just a single line. On the top deck, just move that out of the way, you can actually see on this one there are actually 3. This is not absolutely an identical board, but it's as close as I could get. And on the top you can see there were 3 connection points. There's one for the devices that aren't on the RCD. There's one, and then there's 2 that are on the RCD. And the actual pack that comes with it, which is in the box, actually has, as you can probably see there, 3 bus bars. Now on that one there'll only be the 2. So the first thing I need to work out is exactly what is going on at the bottom of this main switch in the other one. Why have we got 2 lines coming out when I don't think there should be? I think there should only be the 1. If it should only be the 1, then I'm going to take the wire, this cable out of here. So obviously we've got the main switch at the other end as well, so I need to make sure all the cables are going to reach. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to study the wiring and see exactly what I've got to do to put this all right. Okay, update then. So look at that. Right, you can see that this really has been cut about. These bus bars have been cut. That cover's been cut. It really has been really mucked about with this board. What I have worked out is on that other board you saw there were two line connections into the top of the RCD in the middle. This is basically doing exactly the same thing except slightly differently. It's got the two lines here, so one of those lines goes to that main switch, or it would go to an RCD. The other line is going to the RCD. That neutral is going to that RCD, and the other neutral, which you just can't quite see, is heading to that RCD, and then both of them up to the bars. So it's fine. So that should not be an issue. But what we've got down here is a shambles. Lord knows what someone's been doing. As you can see, there's only 4 MTBs and 5 here, and there should be 5 either side. So I think my gut is telling me to do that, get that main switch out and get that RCD in there first, and then test the system, and then worry about switching out that MCB that shouldn't be there. I think that's what I ought to do first. Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll do that first. Okay, with much fiddling, let me show you how it looks now. So here we go. And I'll just put the. There we go. That's shadow in the camera. Let's try that. There we go. Right, so there we go. So there's the board now. So as you can see, I've actually replaced that bus bar with the bus bar from the kit. So that's all gone in nicely. That's much neater, as you can see now. That's how it's supposed to look. There's the RCD even. As you can see, I've not done that MCB yet. I want to do this a bit at a time. So you see that neutral cable's all nice. Now, everyone's going, I know, I can see it. You can see the neutral one is absolutely fine. That line isn't. You can see the copper showing there. It's what's been done on the end of that cable is too long. It's obviously been cut to the length for that old main switch, so that isn't going to fly. However, I am going to be doing this anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to retrofit this down here. I didn't want to touch this bit, but I think I'm going to have to. So I think I'm going to have to replace that fly lead with one that's supposed to be there. Maybe the one that's in there might work. And then what basically then happens is, so you'll get a line into that one, and then there's a loop, as you'll see on the other board, that loops to that one. So that might be the way to do it. But I want to get this board powered up. I want to see if what I've done has broken anything. So let's get this board powered up and see what happens. Okay, we are all powered up. I haven't put the blanking, as you see. There was one interesting thing that happened when I powered it up. The bar sockets, when I tried to turn that on the first time, tripped the RCD. So at least we know it works. Second time I put the bar sockets on, it hasn't tripped. The difference is that heater down there. So I'm going to go and get my test kit, and we're going to run some tests on both the RCDs, because I can do that RCD on the garage sockets, and I can do this RCD here in the bar. So I'm going to test both RCDs and let's see what happens. But that is interesting. Yeah, we'll have a look at that in a sec. Okay, we have a bit of a nuisance tripping on this new RCD. I wonder why that's why. I did start to wonder why, if that's why this isn't. We didn't have the second RCD in place. There may be a clue here though. Let me turn around and I'll show you. Right. Okay. So all the circuits on that side, they work absolutely fine. As you can see, I've got this RCD on. If I try and put on any of those, particularly in this area, in this area, that RCD will just randomly trip, or it seems to randomly trip. Now I'm going to show you something here. The test button. All those circuits are off. Power is on. I'm going to press the test button. That RCD functions as it's supposed to. Okay. Let's put it back on. Press the test button. This is the new RCD I have literally just put in. I'm going to press the test button. We may have a faulty RCD. After all the kerfuffle of putting the ruddy thing in, it actually might be a faulty RCD. Might be. Or there might be more to it than that. I don't know. So we're going to have to get this board back off the wall and have another look. Okay, well unfortunately I didn't get a chance to do much more than that. As it turned out, the RCDs were not a problem. I actually put in a second RCD, had the same problem. And it just didn't seem to be any particular circuit of those, it just was going randomly all the time. Now that's the reason why that main switch was there, because obviously the electrician that fitted it in the past had exactly the same problem, and rather than trying to find out what the cause of the problem was, he shoved the main switch in, hiding what is obviously an earth fault somewhere. There's an earth fault somewhere on one of those circuits. Anyway, the upshot is that the clients didn't want to pay for me to investigate it further, so I had to put the main switch back. I put a metal blank in to cover that up, but I had to basically write out a report to the client saying what I'd found, identifying the fact that there is an earth fault in your house. I recommend that it's found effectively, because somewhere there is a potentially dangerous problem there. I haven't heard anything since, I'm afraid, but there you go. What can you do? I'm afraid the regulations aren't compulsory. You can make recommendations to your clients, when you find things, but they're not obligated. They're not obligated to take that advice. However, I have to cover my arse. Excuse my language. So there is a report at NAPIT that I have found this fault, that the client has acknowledged, and the client has said that they do not want me to do any more further work on. It's a blame culture these days. If there's something now goes wrong with that house, if there's someone gets hurt or there's a fire, and it's down to that fault in that board, the BS 7671 isn't a statutory document, but it can be used in a court of law. So I've done what I needed to do, and that's to cover my ass, as I've just said. So if it does come back and bite me, I can say, no, I warned the client that this was here. I told them it needed to be looked at. I told them I needed to do something with it. They said they didn't want to. Nothing you can do about it. There's absolutely nothing. Unless they change BS 7671 to be an enforceable document, which I don't think they'll ever do. There is nothing you can do about it. All you can do is go to your clients and say, this is what I've found. If necessary, issue a dangerous condition report, which they have to sign, and that's it. I warned them as well that if something was to go wrong and it's identified that this fault caused it, it could invalidate their insurance. I can't do any more than that, I'm afraid. Anyway, I'm going to link to another video where this is an identical problem that another electrician found, and I think they go right the way through to actually finding the fault itself. So if you want to see the steps of going through to actually identifying where the earth fault is, I highly recommend you go and look at that one. Maybe one day I'll go back and maybe we'll fix it. I don't know, but I hope that's been useful anyway. Press the like if you liked it, and subscribe, and all the other bits and pieces if you want to carry on seeing things. And we'll see you on the next one.